What's going on, y'all? You know where I'm at, and you know what I'm about to do. It's Player Partner Cal. I want to holler at the bros real quick, especially the older bros, and I want to talk about being aware of your surroundings and when to know that you've outgrown that surrounding. I think this will make for a very good topic. Bros, especially my age, I'm 34, mid-30s bros. We have to be very mindful of where we commute to or where we frequent, basically where we spend our time and energy. This can be, and I'm talking about social settings, right? If you're from where I'm from, a small town in Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, it's not a lot of stuff to do. It's more gangster, trapped out stuff to do than it is player or fly stuff to do. So you don't have a lot of options. So you're basically faced with the options of going to the same spots that everybody goes to, which can be fine to do every once in a while. Like when I go home, I'll still frequent those spots or whatnot. But doing that on a every weekend basis, I wouldn't advise you to do that, bros. For one, you need to always make yourself exclusive. Bros, you need to think of yourself as wine, as fine wine. You only bring it out on occasions, and you get better with time, right? You shouldn't be trying to be on the scene all the time, trying to get seen, especially in these smaller cities. Now, if you're in the bigger city or something like that, you can get away with it. Like I'm in the DMV area, so I can get away with doing that. But even still, I don't really do it like that. You should just work on being more exclusive. You don't want to become that person to where people know your face from being in the streets. They might not know your name, but they know you. You know what I'm saying? You go out so much, you end up knowing the person. You knowing their face. You always see them at the same spots because your ass always at the same spot. So we need to work on doing that, being more exclusive. Another thing, man, especially for guys that's in these smaller towns, like I said, you don't really have a lot of options. It's either super duper trapped out or it's like the super duper church crowd, and there's nothing in the middle for men like me that you just like stuff in the middle. Not too trapped out, not too gangster, but not too churchy, right? You have to just be very mindful of that. As an example of mine, when I was living back in Alabama, I would always go to this place on the south called the Sky Bar. Now, I love the Sky Bar, RIP to it. I used to love it. I used to love going to it, had fun every time I went. But somebody like me, I don't really fit there, and I know that. Don't get me wrong, I come from the south. I'm from the south side. That's my part of town, right? Those are my people. I'll never act like I'm too bougie for my people. But still, we're doing two totally different things. The things that I'm doing is not conducive to being in that type of club every weekend or every other weekend. It's cool to go every once in a while, say what's up, but you don't want to be associated with that type of crowd. And when I say that type of crowd, I'm not saying that they're bad people. No, they're not bad people. Those are my people. But they're living a different lifestyle than me. So you can't be associated with that type of thing all the time. You can know them, you can fuck with them, say what's up, chunk deuces. But as far as just being totally all the way associated with that, you have to separate yourself from the crowd. That's basically what I'm saying. And it doesn't even have to be on no street shit. You might have guys that might be skateboarders. You might not be a skateboarder. You might be cool with them. They're your homeboys. They're your partners. You kick them with them from time to time. But if you're trying to elevate and separate yourself from the group, you have to find people who have common interests as you, right? They're still good people. They're still your friends, but y'all don't share the same interests. So you have to go to places where you have that same interest. You get what I'm saying? So I would go there, hang out every weekend, just go by myself. Well, have fun, but you leave the club smell like, your clothes smell like smoke. It wasn't really too violent in there, even though there was always a possibility on that side at that spot. I never had any negative situation there, but it was always a threat of that happening. And that's not to say that a threat of that can't happen at any other spots, because we all know this, but you get what I'm saying, right? You got to separate yourself from the pack if you're trying to do different things. Stuff I like to do now. What do I like to do now? I like to go to different bars and eat, right? I'm an eater. Even though I'm on this weight loss journey, on the weekends, I will still eat. I'll go to a good restaurant, have a good drink, sit down at the bar, and just chill. I don't have to be in the club all the time. I'll still go to different social settings where I can be around people and be in the public. But as far as going to those type of clubs, especially bros in the mid 30s, late 30s or something like that, late 20s, if you know that's not your spiel, don't do it. And I advise y'all again, for my brothers that's in these country towns or whatnot, these smaller cities, find those hole-in-the-wall spots, find those hole-in-the-wall walls, find those hole-in-the-wall bars and just make it yours. Own it, all right? I understand that, hey, you going to these spots because all the chicks are there, so you wanna try to choose up on the chicks or whatnot, but they not really there for that, and the men that they will be trying to choose up on, not gonna be there. They'll be in places where you're frequent to. You get what I'm saying? So with all this being said, it's not about going out trying to get women. It's about going out trying to do things that are in your interest level, that are in your interest group, right? You have to find different things for that. And you might find a woman on the way to doing something like that. I heard that from AMS before. You don't necessarily have to go to the club to get women or something. That's like the worst place you can do that at. But if you go into these small bars or whatnot, there might be somebody in there, you strike up a conversation, something like that, having your way. You never know. Also, one thing about that, as far as older bros, you got to separate yourself from the pack as far as your dress game goes. I've always talked about your dress game. One thing that I would notice when I was going out to these different spots in Montgomery, and this is no disrespect, but nobody was trying to up the dress game. It's very relaxed, it's very streetwear, it's very casual, which I'm a streetwear guy, I'm a casual guy, I sell streetwear. But even still, like when you want to go out as these older brothers and you're trying to have something, you're trying to look like something, you need to distinguish yourself from the group. Wearing the tennis shoes, the hats, the chains, all that type of stuff, that's cool for when we going out in the streets doing something in the daytime, but when you stepping out at night, you got to be right. And when you going out to those places, you're gonna look good. Trust me, you're gonna look good. You're gonna stand out, and you're gonna stick out like a sore thumb, and you're gonna look like you don't fit. That was my problem. I would dress to the nines, as they like to say, but I would go to these hood spots, and people asking me if I'm security or something like that, because they're looking at me like, yeah, nigga, you don't fit what you're doing here. So that kind of works against you, but it can also work with you, because women might see that, and that might be they'll be attracted to that, they'll flock to that. But what kind of women would it be? You know what I'm saying? Because we already know. You got girls that like to go in there and party or whatnot. It's just having fun with their homegirls, but you also got the hood rats in that bitch, right? You got a bunch of them in there, and they scoping, and they look at you. They're like, damn, he look like he got some money. Let me try to press up on him and see what I can get from him, right? If you don't want to experience that to that level, then you need to find other places where you can go where you won't be experiencing that to that level, because it does happen at other places, but it won't happen as much when you go into these hood spots all the time. What else, man? Just the threat level. Let's talk about the threat level real quick. Men in our early 30s, late 30s, we don't need to be going out wondering if we're going to make it home or not. That's something that we had to worry about in our 20s, like when we out running the streets doing stuff we weren't supposed to be doing. But now that you're older, you're more established, when you want to go out, you want to have a good time. You don't want to be somewhere where you feel like you're going to lose your life, especially if you got stuff to lose. Hold on real quick. I'm bad, y'all. I had to take a phone call real quick, but I'm back. Like I said, you don't want to go to different places where you feel like your life is going to be on the line. You want to go somewhere that's smooth, laid back, still might have a little bit of hood, still might have a little bit of class, and you can go in there and you know you're going to go home safe at the end of the night, not dying from gun violence or something like that. Like I got a high school friend that just passed yesterday due to gun violence, going out trying to have a good time. They end up shooting. Next thing you know, she done lost her life. Nobody wants to go out like that. You don't want to end up living your last breath on the dirty club floor. You don't want to do that. So if you're not into that lifestyle, then you need to find different places where you can do that. And like I said, being in the South where I'm from, there's not a lot of options like that, unfortunately. But fortunately for me, I'm not there anymore, so I can have my option to do stuff different from that. But people are trying to create different opportunities, different places where that doesn't go on, but you're gonna have nigga shit happen wherever you go. You feel me? But you still just gotta make sure that you practice good skills as far as determining, okay, this would be a good place to go versus this not being a good place to go, especially if you got something to lose. But anyway, that was my short video on that. About to go out here and run these 13 miles and get it done. And I advise y'all do the same. Get your ass up.